The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Games to the Max. This is episode 189 of the show, and I am your host, Sean Garmer, and here with me is Mr. Marc Morrison.
Howdy.
And of course, this is the official video games podcast of W2Net.com and also in partnership with Last Word on Life. And this is a purposeful break. Not just because of the World Cup going on and making my nights basically have the same thing happen every night, but also because I wanted to have a big enough break to where there was actually news that wasn't, this happened at E3, let's talk about it. There is still some that we'll cover in here, but there is actual news that's like sort of like, oh, the news cycle started back up post E3, so I kind of wanted to get out of the whole, oh, let's rank stuff that we already did at the end of the press conferences and all that, everything. So,
yeah.
Plus we didn't go to E3, so it's easier to like get out of that than be talking about games that we really didn't play and all that stuff. So, but how have you been in that time?
I've been okay. Bought a few games on the Steam sale and played a lot more.
What did you get on the Steam sale?
Honey Pop.
I know you talked to me about that, but for the people who have no idea what that is.
Like sexy anime match 3 game.
Okay.
Only like there's nudity. Like it's
I'm
like
guessing that's one of the ones that they would have removed.
Yeah, I think they actually have talked about like censoring it or something. Cause yeah, it's like topless and like there's like one character who's like tentacle porn. I was like, yep, this is anime game.
Yeah, extreme anime. Yeah,
but the actual gameplay like is actually kind of fine. Like that's kind of why I bought it. I don't,
it's a good match 3 game.
It's a lot like Puzzle and Dragon.
Okay.
Like it's not like match 3 like Bejeweled. Like you have to like drag a jewel around and then you fit it in a slot, something like that. And I bought BattleTech. It's a MechWarrior RPG.
Right.
It's listed for $35, but Amazon screwed up, and they listed it for $10. So I grabbed it.
Nice.
And I have no intention to ever play it.
Just buying it to buy it.
Pretty much. I bought it, just because of the price there. Like I was
right.
Let's. And I want to grab. There's some stuff I want to grab, but I just want the money for it. What about you?
What do you want to?
The big things I want to grab are House Flipper, which is like $16. Dead Cells, which is like 12, I think. This game called Pamela. It's an acronym, capital P, capital A. It's like 15, I think. And then Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite for 20. That was just for more morbid curiosity than anything
That's
else.
Not too bad for 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still debating on whether I want to get Mario Tennis Aces or not. And I don't know, I might wait to see if something else strikes my fancy.
Yeah.
Now that Kingdom Hearts 3 is not coming out till next year, one of the games I was sort of like saving up for is kind of off that list. So I have more open spots and wanting to play games or whatnot. I am sort of interested in Rainbow Skies. I liked Rainbow Moon, but I don't know if I want to. I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to save for Octopath Traveler. That's kind of the game I'm really looking forward to. That's coming out pretty soon. So it looks pretty awesome.
I'm still looking forward to like Spider-Man. That's probably my big game.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to Spider-Man too, but that one's kind of more in the coming out very soon. So
yeah,
since I haven't really played anything, so that's kind of the thing. I'm like, okay, that's gonna get me back into playing more regularly. Plus, it'll help the World Cup is over by then too, so I'm not watching that. But I know you are playing a Vampyr, and I know we have several people on the staff that have Vampyr and are playing, and you have one person that apparently hates the bosses, and of course Stephanie loves most of it. So where do you fall on the Vampyr?
Yeah, combat is generally terrible. It's, I mean, they've made, what is it? They've made Remember Me, which is a good game,
right,
but has bad combat, and the same thing, like the combat, like the one boss, the first boss you meet is like this werewolf thing in like a sewer, and it took me 40 tries to beat it.
Jeez, that sounds like torture.
Yeah, like the combat is like it tries, but it's just not good enough, and there's only one spec really, because like you can have a main hand and an offhand weapon, or you can just say screw it and have like a two-handed weapon. That's the only way to do it, because you get a counter ability or like a parry, and yeah, that's it.
Damn, that doesn't give you a lot of options there.
Yeah.
So is how does the AI fight with you? So is it like Batman, or?
When you have the counter, yeah. When you don't, it's kind of like Dark Souls light.
Okay.
So you have a stamina meter, that like one 4-hit combo and you're out of stamina until you buff it up.
Does it generally feel like good to be a vampire or whatever? Or is the control, all the controls and fighting just so bad that
kind of I'm trying to think. Like, there aren't a ton of actual vampire stuff. Like, you can mesmerize people and like kill them, but it all kind of just doesn't flow that well. Yeah, it's just a bizarre game. Like, I'm reviewing it, and I think I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
And I sent it to a friend, like, who's a bigger fan than I am, and she's like, "Yeah, you're fair." Like, I'm not going to finish it just because of it. It's such a hassle to get from one side of the map to the other, because of you come across like 20 enemies.
Jeez.
And like, that's
okay. So
that's not
are the enemies all a pain to beat, or is it just the bosses?
No, it's just time consuming. Basically counter the enemy. You can suck his blood up then to like replenish your blood supply, and then just keep going on.
Is the story any good at all, or does it?
The story's not bad. Like, the writing is fine. Like, there's some good characters, and it's not as good as like Life is Strange,
right?
But it's also not quite as embarrassing as Life is Strange either. Like, there's no mention of Hela in the game, which is probably for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, if you want a vampire game, that's pretty much the only one out there that's not, 10 years or 20 years old.
Right.
Like the only other good one is like Vampyr, Masquerade Bloodlines, and that's fucking 15 years old at this point, I think, or at least 10. So, yeah, I mean, it's serviceable enough, but the combat really does bring it down. And
that's disappointing because I thought it would be one of the games that people were talking about for the right reasons.
Considering how combat is 70% of the game, that's a problem.
Oh, that's sad to hear.
Yeah.
So considering the film is out there, the new Fallen Kingdom, there is the Jurassic World Evolution. How is that?
Yeah, I got that. It's okay. It looks really nice. I finally completed the tutorial level, which the tutorial, it took me 4 or 5 tries. I'm not kidding. Because
so
the
why
tutorial,
is it hard?
It doesn't tell you a lot about it. Really tries to breadcrumb you into doing certain stuff, but it doesn't do it well. One of the things I did was there are 3 basically schools on the island or in the company. There's scientific, entertainment, and security, and they each have different missions. And if you go in the security route, the entertainment and security don't like it for some reason, which I can't figure out. They're all working for the same fucking company. It doesn't, who cares?
Right.
So one of the missions for entertainment on the first island was okay, dig up a carnivore dinosaur fossil, extract the DNA, and then release the dinosaur. And it didn't tell me you may want to create a separate pen away from your herbivore dinosaurs because the carnivore will eat them. So I just released it, and then it ate them, and then my park rating went to shit. And I'm like, yeah, you didn't tell me I could build a separate enclosure. That would have been helpful.
Yeah, that seems like you're leaving out information there.
Yeah, I've been trying to do the story, and I kind of just want to do just the sandbox, see if that might be better. Here's an island, build whatever you want. I find some of the systems to be very complicated also. The power management system is kind of insane. But like I said, it looks nice. They got some of the voice actors from the movie, which they didn't get all of them, but they got some, which I give them credit for. And yeah, I have to get deeper into the game. It also when I finally completed the training mission or the training island, it took me 2 hours. I was like, this is taking for fucking ever, and I just had to keep building up my park rating to get to number the 3rd rating star, and I'm like, this is going on. Come on, people.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want a dinosaur building, park building game, it's the only one out there probably.
Good God.
Yeah.
I forgot that you by a window.
Yeah. That's what I hear every 10 minutes or so. Or I like it when people race down my fucking street. It's I wish there was a cop that's parked in my parking lot.
You could clearly hear I guess
yeah.
there's a truck just going by.
Yep.
Damn. Anything else you playing?
I got Killer Instinct on Steam. It's a fucking mess of a game, which is a shame. When I can get it to work, it's great. But the key word is when I can get it to work.
Or is this the Xbox One?
This is the Xbox One. They re-released it it came to PC, but they put it on Steam. It's a fantastic fighting game. It's very fluid. It combos well. The systems are great. It has a ton of characters, but it only boots up once, and then if I close the game, it won't boot up again until I restart my computer. And I'm like, this kind of blows.
Sucks.
Yeah. I mean, aside from that, it's fine. But that's still kind of an issue.
Yeah.
And I also, since it finally came out, I reinstalled Wreckfest.
What is that again?
It's a racing game, like a physics-based racing game. It's supposed to be like ever play Flat Out?
Yeah, I played Flat Out.
It's basically like that. Like it's the same team and everything. Yeah, it crashes nice. Like, I mean, when you crash, it does it really well.
Well, that's fun at least. It lives with the game, if anything.
The only problem with that game is, like, you have races, but then you'll have, like, bonus objectives, like crash into 3 people during this race, or, get this much, do this much damage in this race, which is pretty at odds with getting to number 1.
Wow, really?
Not totally, but it can lead to some problems. Like, I had one race where it was like, spin out 3 people, and I'm trying to do that, and like, meanwhile I'm in 12th place out of 20, and the first guy is like way up above me, and I'm like, great, I'm really gonna catch this guy.
So it just makes it like almost impossible to.
Well, I mean, if you just kind of ignore the bonus objectives, then you can kind of bang it out, no problem.
But what are, like, do you really get anything great for doing the bonus objectives, or?
You get more experience. It kicks you have like a level system, and I think more money too. So, but
yeah.
I mean, that's not your type of game, I know, but it's fun enough for what it's trying to do.
I like Burnout and stuff like that to crash in.
Yeah, there's not a sense of speed in this game though. Like, there's no turbo meter or anything. But one of the first races you do is with lawnmowers. It's pretty funny.
That sounds awesome, actually.
So, like, one of the objectives is like take out 3 people. So you just ram a lawnmower and the other guy explodes.
That's awesome. Now I need to actually see this. So, like, you just progress into, like, better from a lawnmower to, like, different vehicles?
Yeah, to, like, actual cars.
That's awesome. You just start there and just, like, all right, we're just randomly into cars now.
Yeah, I think that's the first race. That's the only race you have to do first. Because you only can go, like, 40 miles per hour, so...
Nice. Well...
So you playing anything fun?
I am not playing anything right now. I did see Incredibles 2 today with Anaya, and that was really good. I enjoyed it. I liked it just as much as the first one. I mean, I haven't seen the first one in a long time, so I can't do like a direct comparison, but I thought the story was pretty good. I haven't read a lot of reviews, so I don't know if there's any kind of feeling of the whole, we went with Elastigirl so we can, try to promote the whole
I don't think so.
empowerment thing, which I appreciate if there's not. But I think it ties in well. I think they can kind of just end it there, though. I don't know what they would do for a third movie, but...
Oh, they'll just, have the kid grow up probably, or, they'll be slightly older, and... the only review I've seen was, I think, like the really terrible New York Times review that was, like, god-awful.
What did they say?
It was, like, some, he was, like, comparing it to, like, 50 Shades of Grey or something.
What?
Yeah. It was like, this is odd.
Yeah, I don't know about the whole... I have seen people, like, really saying it's one of the best, like, superhero movies or whatever. I don't know about that, but... It's a really good sequel to a really good, beloved Pixar movie. I do like that they, have the actors before the movie even starts let you know, hey, we know it's been 14 years or whatever. Hope you enjoy it, whatnot. It's it's just the way it's set up. They actually, I really like the villain in this one. The way that they did it, though, it's gonna be they'd have to just come up out of thin air with another villain, I guess, to do a third movie if they want to.
Didn't they do that with the second one?
Right, but this one kind of like made sense of what they were trying to do with that story, right? Of the whole, the supers have been basically made illegal, and they're having to hide underground and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I'm sure there's people that are gonna want to see like Jack be more grown up and stuff, but I don't know. I feel like if they don't make a third one, I'd be fine with it too.
Here's part of that review, and I'll read this verbatim. I'm gonna read like midway through. Because mommy just leaned over to daddy and whispered, quote, "Is it just me, or does Miss Incredible kind of look like Anastasia in 50 Shades of Grey? The girl in the red room with all the whips and stuff?" And daddy just rested his cooling soda firmly in his lap, and like Mr. Incredible, tried to very hard think of algebra. And it's like, that's not a good review.
Wow, that's awful. There was a lot, the thing is too, like having Anaya there, and also just there was a lot of things you can relate to as a parent with that movie, which made it very relatable to adults, along with having the laughs for the kids. The one when they showed in the trailer resonates with me, because sometimes I'm sitting there doing math with Anaya and I'm going, why did they make this harder? Like,
yeah,
how could you change exactly what he says? Like, how could you change math? And they somehow did that, So it's like, yeah. So, yeah, I like that. I enjoyed the movie for what it is. I think it's very. I'm glad that they made it. I know that they have other stuff lined up, but yeah. Now I'm really excited for Wreck-It Ralph and all that. I keep seeing the trailer and it makes me laugh every time. I love that Disney makes fun of itself with the princesses and all that. I think it's going to spoil it when the movie actually comes out, but I thought it's a really good scene. I laugh every time because it's like Disney actually took the time to make fun of itself. That's good.
Yeah.
They need to do that more often. But all right, let's get into the actual what's been happening lately. Like I said, we will get into some stuff that has to do with post E3, but not that much because, again, we weren't at E3, so we didn't really get to demo games or whatnot, but there's still plenty to discuss here. So first of all, just because it's easy to get this thing out of the way, it's towards the end of the month, so you know what that means. The sales for May 2018 are out there, and this was a little tricky because there's all three systems did well. They all have different awards that they got for this, and also May of 2018 had the highest hardware sales numbers since 2011 from the month of May. So that lets you know that they just had a lot of good games that have come out in the last couple of months that people have actually been wanting to pick up. But PS4 is the topper in overall hardware sales. The
Shocker.
Nintendo Switch with the neon controllers, which is the one that I have. Do you have
the
that
red
one?
and
You
blue.
have the gray one.
I had the red and blue one, the good one.
Okay, that one.
The proper one.
Yes, the proper one, because the gray one just looks so bland. That one is actually the highest selling SKU of all the hardware platforms. So the highest selling, like, that version of the hardware sold more than all the other PlayStations, apparently. But the PS4, because it has so many different SKUs, including the Pro and all that, sold more. And State of Decay 2 is the highest selling game of May 2018. It also helps a lot that State of Decay 2 was $30. So let's put that into context as well. It's cheaper than all the other games that are on this list. I'm doubting that they're not counting. I'm assuming they're not counting Game Pass as sales for this. So that's good for Microsoft, at least. That even though they have Game Pass, people are still going out there and buying the game. So.
Well, did they? I don't have the figures, but did they say how many it's actually sold or no?
It doesn't say here. It just does that top 10.
That's actually kind of the curious thing for me is they may actually count Game Pass, because like when God of War came, when that sold last month, they were like, oh, it sold 5 million copies. If State of Decay 2 sold whatever 3 million copies, Microsoft would say that, but they don't. So
technically, God of War came out in April, though, right? So
yeah, but I mean, it sold 5 million copies in April.
Right. Yeah, that's what I think. What it is like all these other games, except for Detroit, came out, and Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze is a remaster.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't really have State of Decay 2. I think is like the only like real new game that's on this top 10 list. So it's State of Decay 2, God of War, which you would assume still being one of the biggest games out there is going to be selling well. Detroit Become Human, which did come out in May, towards the end of May, but I don't think anybody expected that to be a huge seller. I don't think any of the other games have been like sold well out of the gate. I think they wound up selling 1 million by the end of it. Like I think Beyond Two Souls probably did, but they usually aren't like killers at the beginning, like God of War was. Far Cry 5, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a remaster. Grand Theft Auto 5, which my God is still selling.
They finally lowered that to $20 on like when you can get it on sale.
That helps as well. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, also a remaster, is on here. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and NBA 2K18. So, again, State of Decay 2 is technically, but aside from Detroit Become Human, is really the only game that's new that came out in that month. Hyrule Warriors and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze did come out in this month, but they're older games, even though I guess, who knows how many people actually bought that on 3DS and Wii U when you think about Hyrule Warriors. But yeah, I mean, that's also the power of the Switch. People are just wanting to buy games for that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, good news for the month of May as far as gaming goes. Now, when it comes to this thing that we're going to talk about here, we've talked about this before because it came out like really early in the year about the World Health Organization was going to classify gaming as being able to be classified as a disorder. Now they kind of just left it up in the air as, okay, well, gaming disorder is going to be considered part of the International Classification of Diseases document. Well, now they have actually released these specific behaviors that doctors can use to diagnose gaming disorder, which I think some people's complaint about this is that this makes it too narrow, and that now you can't just walk in and go, oh, the doctor just goes, oh, you have an addiction. You have to actually be showing these signs, but then when you think about addiction, this is kind of what you show when you do have an addiction to something. And then second, I think that people are emphasizing this into, well, oh my God, we can't have video games be considered a disorder because people are going to think that means video games are bad. And let me go down the 3 things first. We can talk about that, and then we can talk about the whole issue that people are raising about whether this means people are going to think this is bad or not. So, number 1, apparent impaired control over gaming. Basically, you have to do it too many times, how long you do it, the fact that you can't stop doing it over something else. You make gaming more important than things that you need to do in your life. That's normal addiction situation. And basically, bad stuff happens to you, but you have to keep gaming regardless. That's also normal addiction things, right? Like, stuff happens. Who cares? I still got to go out there and get my cocaine or my alcohol or whatever. Obviously, gaming is a bit more mental than physical, as the other drugs usually hit you more physically. This is more of I mentally have to decide to play this game. But like, what do you think? I mean, I know both of us have seen cases of people get addicted to games, so we know this happens. But do you think that they really need to get so specific with it?
I think their wording is kind of suspect. Like they should come out and say obviously like specific examples. But yeah, like I think gaming addiction does exist for sure. Like I had friends who dropped out of college because of like World of Warcraft, or even stuff like Fortnite now, or all these stupid mobile games that have like loot boxes in them. I mean, that's kind of why they're getting on loot boxes in the first place, because it's basically activating the same center of your brain as like a casino, a jukebox, not a jukebox, not roulette wheel, damn it, slot machine would. Sorry,
slot machine, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think gaming can have an adverse impact. Like I think I saw a few weeks ago, like everyone making fun of like one of the guidelines was like, oh, if you play games 2 hours a day or more, and it's like I routinely do that. I'm not addicted to it though. Like everyone on Twitter was like, oh, that's dumb. Like, how do people do that? But I think the point is like,
I mean, it's almost like whoever does streaming, you're usually streaming more than 2 hours every time you stream. So how many of those people are included in that?
Yeah, or it's the same thing as like watching TV or being on the phone or being on your cell phone, like, or the internet. Like you can make the case for a lot of those things.
Yeah, and I think I totally get that point too. Like you could consider binge watching an addiction, with how Netflix does their stuff and how crazy people get about that sometimes. But yeah, for me, it's not an addiction unless you are not going to work or are not, eating or doing things you need to do because of gaming, and you're not paying your bills. I mean, you're paying the electric bill and the internet bill because you need that to keep gaming, but the other bills that you need to pay, you're not paying those because who cares? I can let the water bill go. I can go buy bottled water, whatever, So,
well, it's like the same thing in like old internet cafes in like Korea, like kids dying because their parents are playing StarCraft all day or something.
Yeah, I mean, those are the extremes of addiction, right? Because you can sort of be addicted. You can have like a casual addiction as well, but that opens doors that this is not really alluding to. I think the people that are so what do you? There's a quote here of people being concerned about seeing gaming disorder basically being shown as a disorder, and that there's mounting evidence that you shouldn't include it in this because there's so many people that play it safely and sensibly. And
I think it's always the same thing about people getting defensive about their hobbies. Right. Like, think about like, why do you think the gun lobby doesn't want gun studies being published? It's the same thing, because there's pretty empirical evidence. More guns doesn't make you more safe; it makes you less. But not according to like the NRA. Like they're like, oh no, it's good. Oh, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. I was like, no, then more people just usually get shot. But so yeah, or it's just the same thing about people being too defensive about their hobbies or their lifestyle.
Yeah, I do get that connection of people already having this sort of, every time there's a school shooting, every time there's something bad that happens, they make that correlation of video game violence is causing this or whatever, and then you have to go refute that and show that there's studies against this and whatever, and that, now we have video games being an addiction, so oh my god, this means we're going to have more people correlating video games equals bad. And there's going to be always those extremists that are going to do that, but I think that it's okay to have this be classified in there. Number one, it's not getting ratified until May 2019, and it's not going to be effective until January 1st, 2022. So there's a lot that can change in that time. Secondly, I think it's a going with the times, right? I wouldn't be surprised if, mobile phones become something eventually, or TV or whatever. I just think that video games, because it's an interactive thing, allows itself to become that. We both have stories of, I had friends drop out of college because of that. I had a person close to me, lose their marriage because they got too into that, into WoW, it's happened. And granted, maybe it doesn't happen as much now as it used to, because people can kind of control themselves when gaming. Gaming is also an expensive hobby, so it precludes people from, getting too crazy. But yeah, with Fortnite out there and PUBG out there and all these multiplayer games that are really coming to the forefront, it's kind of lent itself to becoming that again. It's not rampant, but I don't think it's wrong to have it out there. Now, if you're going to a rehab for this and you're sitting next to somebody doing hardcore drugs or alcohol or whatever, are you going to be seen the same way? No.
So, some guy with track marks going like, what are you in here for? Cocaine. What are you in here for? Call of Duty.
Like yeah, they're going to laugh at you, right? But, I mean, it is what it is. People have addictions to different things. So
yeah, I saw some story, I think a few weeks ago, about some 9-year-old girl or something in England. Like, she would, like, wet herself because she didn't want to get up to go to the bathroom because she was playing Fortnite.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's
like
not good.
that's crossing a line.
She's also 9. It's kind of,
yeah, but if your 9-year-old started doing that, you shut that shit up real quick.
Yeah, I there's times where I have to be careful with Anaya because she has the problem of still learning how to go to the bathroom, and we had to buy a watch for her and everything. And when she's in the house is when she has the most accidents, because she gets so hooked into watching a TV show or something on YouTube, and she kind of just shuts off her brain to, oh crap, I need to go to the bathroom. And there's times where I have to go, okay, well, I need to shut this off, and you need to show me that you're going to the bathroom normally, because apparently this is becoming too much of a problem. But if she goes out and she doesn't have the TV to distract her, she goes normal.
Right.
So it's just, kids are much easily distractible than adults, but again, addiction is addiction. I think it's okay to allow this to be in there. People are going to take this the way they want, but I don't think it's bad for the gaming industry to have this be included.
Yeah.
Speaking of PUBG, they have gotten a ton of backlash lately because, now granted, they're just doing the same thing that Fortnite did, right? Fortnite added an event pass, but the difference between Fortnite and PUBG is that Fortnite is free, at least the Battle Royale, which is the main mode people are playing. And Fortnite has way less problems technically than PUBG does. And they already charge you $30 to play PUBG. Then in order to get more from it, you need to pay this $10 event pass. So I don't play PUBG, I don't play Fortnite, but I can totally see where people are upset that we already paid $30 for this game. Now you want us to pay $10 more, and the game has a lot of problems.
I mean, PUBG does have problems, but I think they're kind of blown out of proportion to an extent. And, people don't bitch about, like, paying, a $50 season pass for Call of Duty. Most, it's the same thing, really. I get more enjoyment out of Battlegrounds than I would out of Call of Duty, so...
Yeah, granted, I can see the correlation, right, of, like, Oh, well, Fortnite's already beating PUBG. They're giving us this $10 thing to keep adding things to it. In fact, Epic's going as far as suing a former tester that apparently let out the whole what's going to be happening in Season 4 because he violated an NDA, which Epic's in their right to do. You're violating NDAs, then you suffer the consequences of that. But, I mean, PUBG has 400 million registered users. 87 million people are playing every day. I don't think this is going to hurt them too much. But, man, when you're also getting bad press about there being a lot of cheaters and, you know, all that stuff in there, I don't know. This doesn't help you.
Yeah. But I don't think they're sweating it too much.
Yeah, and there's people that are going to pay this event pass anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because they want to keep them, they want this to keep updating and keep having content. So
yeah, I mean, it's the same thing like Rainbow Six Siege. Like when the new season comes out, you pay $20 for the new characters or whatever.
Yeah, that's people are kind of used to this. They're gonna complain, but this is nowhere near the EA loot boxes or anything like that where you're gonna raise a big enough stink where they're gonna remove it.
Right.
So. Life is Strange 2 gets a release date of September 27th. I remember that basically today you can go download that Adventures of Captain Underpants, or what is it? The Captain something?
Yeah.
Game.
Captain Awesome, I think.
Captain Awesome, yes. That's Captain Spirit. I'm sorry. The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. I have it right in front of me, and I missed. It's free today, so if you're excited about Life is Strange, and this is kind of have some choices that you make that affect Life is Strange too, so you may want to play it.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot probably.
But yeah, I know you're a big Life is Strange fan, so you have to be excited for this.
Yeah, but I'm more excited for Life is Strange than Captain Underwear.
Yeah, it's a neat premise. Like, I like the idea when they showed it. I'm like you. I still need to go and finish Life is Strange at some point. But glad to know they're working on it and it's coming out later this year. So
yeah, it's kind of quick actually. Like I'm pleasantly hopeful.
I mean, it is released episodically, so maybe they'll be done by the end of the year, maybe not.
No, because they take 2 months, but unlike Telltale, like they actually have a set schedule.
Let's hope they don't have any delays in that schedule.
I don't think Life is Strange ever hit any big delays. Yeah, that released pretty on time. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was pretty regular.
That's positive though, because that means that they're subtly working on it. They know what they want to do with it. It's just kind of getting it polished and ready for the next episode.
Plus, I don't have as many systems, like they're not releasing anything on like 360 and PS3. Like they're just focusing on the current gen, so that'll help.
Yeah, and not even on Switch either. So it's just the other 3 main systems, which, like you said, helps because it's all PC architecture anyway.
Yeah.
Speaking of Telltale, though, not only are they getting sued by their former CEO, which that's a whole legalese battle I'm not getting into. I don't think it really, has to do much with us.
I think that guy sounds kind of nuts.
Yeah, and that guy sounds nuts.
He kind of, like, from all intents and purposes, sounds like he kind of ruined that studio.
Well, yeah, but then Telltale also keeps signing deals.
Yeah, but he's what led to that is they kept signing more and more deals, and they didn't have like the support staff and like the people that actually make it work.
So 2 things out of the Telltale camp here to discuss. Speaking of signing more deals, they have made a deal with Netflix to make a Stranger Things game, which will very, very much a normal Telltale game focused on Stranger Things. I'm a huge Stranger Things fan, so I'm down for that. However, Netflix also gets something that we'll talk about with their other news story here, because it kind of ties in. Netflix is going to bring their Minecraft story mode, which has been one of their more. I liked it. Not everybody else did, and I'm not a Minecraft fan. I liked it, but I think it's been one of the ones that people have liked, that have enjoyed the most. I think out of the variety of the ones that they've had, they're going to make an interactive experience on Netflix that you can play Minecraft story mode on. So almost kind of like a choose your own adventure story.
Yeah, press remote button to choose one thing or the other.
Right, which I think that's fun. I mean, that's cool. That's a good idea, I think. And going into that, apparently they might have actually tried to start this earlier, and might be one of the things that they didn't do because of the previous CEO who is currently suing them. They are now deciding, Telltale, after all this time, after all these games that they've made, they have now decided they're going to switch to the Unity engine. They're done with the Telltale engine. They're going to go in, and Unity engine is going to be their thing going forward. The Walking Dead final season will be the final set of game episodes that will include the Telltale engine. So get ready for more pauses and random freezes and all that stuff. But
well, I was going to say, given how well Unity runs on PSN or PS4, that doesn't exactly inspire me with a ton of confidence.
It's true, but at least you might get it running well on PC or running well on Xbox One.
No, not Xbox. Because I remember me and Adam had to review that. We were supposed to review that Torment game on PS, or that came out like a year or two ago, and I'm the PS4, it barely ran, and on the Xbox One, it crashed out whenever we tried to load it. So,
ugh. God, I remember the horror stories you would tell me that game. But thankfully, I don't know if this is good or not, means that Wolf Among Us Season 2 and Game of Thrones Season 2 will use the Unity engine. In fact, this leads to the thing I was talking about. Apparently, at one point, when they were making the first Game of Thrones season, they were supposed to try to also have Game of Thrones, that Telltale game, on HBO Now as well, like an interactive experience, but they couldn't do it because the engine wasn't good enough to run along with HBO Now. So
yeah, I can see that.
So this new engine is kind of what's allowing the Stranger Things game to be able to possibly also wind up being ported on Netflix, and of course Minecraft Story Mode to have the interactive thing. So we'll see. We'll see if it actually works out, but I don't know. It's just, man, these Telltale games recently have just been kind of like, So, I don't know. I'm excited to kind of end The Walking Dead because I enjoyed the first 2 seasons. I guess I'll have to trudge through that 3rd season or whatever. And, yeah.
And I would say the last good game they've made was Borderlands, which it didn't sell for shit according to them. I've heard, like, the Minecraft game I've heard is fine. I don't care about it. But Game of Thrones has been terrible. Those Batman games are pretty bad. Like, they're good stories, but the engine is so ancient that it just plays badly. And I don't know about you. I know no one who gave a fuck about, like, Walking Dead Season 3.
Yeah, no one talked about that game. I know there's people that actually like the Guardians one. I played a couple episodes. It was fine.
That's another one. Like, I heard no one talk about that one either.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some people putting it up there on their, like, favorite games they enjoyed of last year, and I was like, well, that's a total surprise. You're, like, one of the people I've seen talk about it at all. So,
yeah.
You know, the Batman Season 2 is, like, gone, and I think aside from Greg Miller, who makes a point to talk about it. I think he's like the only one. No one ever really talks about it at all. So
They review fairly well, but it's
Right.
just like, you know, too much coming out at once. You know, you got at least 2 or 3 Telltale games coming out at the same time usually, so you just get lost in the shuffle.
And also, Batman kind of doesn't really have anything going on right now to tie it into. Walking Dead is sort of starting to really run its course. I know it still has a huge following, but I feel like it's starting to wear on people, I think. And yeah, you know, you got Andrew Lincoln finally leaving the show and all that stuff, and you know, I don't know how well this is going to be received when it comes out, but maybe Stranger Things will be that, or Wolf Among Us 2, which a lot of people have been. I'm waiting for that. I know there's a lot of other people waiting for that.
I am, yeah.
That might be the thing that finally gets it back into the conversation.
I view like Wolf Among Us 2 as like their last shot, essentially. Because it has been burning out so much.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I think like that's their one sort of. I know it's based on a comic, but it's like their one original that they have that people are kind of anticipating, and if they can knock into that story again, I think they'll help themselves.
I mean, it's not like you said; it's based on a comic, but it's not based on a TV show or a movie, so that helps.
Yeah, they have more license.
That's why I think people liked a lot of Borderlands, because while it was based on the game, it had pretty much nothing to do with the game.
Yeah, it had its own characters, and aside from having the robot, and I think like Claptrap showed up at some point. Yeah, there was really nothing that tied it to the game, so it was like it had its own story, and you could just enjoy those characters. Like me and you talked about, like they need to just make a game based on those characters. Forget, you know, continuing the other ones.
Yeah.
So Capcom has gotten itself in a little bit of a issue with one of their, you know, big franchises, but they've also discussed something that we kind of figured right when they announced the Resident Evil 7 was going to be in the cloud. That wasn't going to be their only game they're making in the cloud. Right now, though, it's only available in Japan, the Resident Evil 7 game, that is. They're kind of using that as a test base before they move it over to the other countries right now, but there's a chance that Devil May Cry 5, Resident Evil 2 Remake, maybe even Monster Hunter Ultimate, or the Monster Hunter World, show up in the cloud.
I mean, it's all possible, but I'm sure they're using RE7 as a good test case just to see how well it's actually going to perform. And you know, if it does well, maybe. But I think also the problem, at least for Americans, is just like that whole not owning it will annoy people. Like you're basically renting the game, and it doesn't really matter for how much, like how long that's going to be. Like there's just kind of that disconnect that Americans have.
I mean, but it like we saw at E3 though, between Microsoft, EA, even Yves Guillemot from Ubisoft is saying streaming.
Yeah, but that was all pretty speculative. Like they were talking about like 5 or 10 years in the future, not right. You know next year.
But they're building that technology, so you know. I think the problem is going to be like you can't download it. So and Nintendo Switch already has problems with, you know, if you don't have the best internet, sometimes it doesn't run that great. So
that's what I was going to say is like if you live on the boonies, you're screwed.
Yeah, might as well hope you have a PS4 at that point.
Or like what happens. I mean, the Switch is nominally supposed to be a portable product. What happens when you go from your home, which has internet, to a place that does not?
Can't play that game, I guess.
Yeah. Time to load up Mario, I guess, and play that.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, if people are fine with knowing that there's going to be games on your Switch that you cannot play with, you know, play anywhere, then that's fine. But again, I think that's the biggest thing for me too. Is I'm not the biggest fan of this. Like, I'm okay with it if they had it in some kind of a service like Game Pass, where I know I'm paying $10 a month and stuff can leave and go and other things come on. But when it's like one game, and especially if I'm paying more than like $20, and they can take it away at any moment, and I don't even know, like, I don't know about that. You know, that's a little bit way out there.
Yeah, like if you think about like Japanese culture, like this is an old story, but like when StarCraft, I think StarCraft 2 came out, it was barely on sale in South Korea. What people would do is they would rent time to play the game instead at like the internet cafes, because it just had a cafe license. So it's like, okay, I'm going to play this game all night and that's it. Like people didn't have their own account with like their own like Battle.net account with StarCraft 2 on it. They just play the cafe version, and it's the same, pretty much the same idea there.
Which, yeah, I totally understand that point. But even then, I think going to a cafe and playing something, you kind of know what you're getting into. This is your home console, right? That everything else you're sitting there seeing on your screen, you own in some way or another. Obviously, there's that question about, downloading something onto your system. That's also giving you a license. Like, they could technically take that away as well, but that's a harder thing to swallow than I think this cloud stuff. And we'll see how far, if somebody else besides Capcom gets in the game here on this for Switch.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it wouldn't be Capcom without a little bit of controversy. And just because, I guess, they wanted to add something into Street Fighter V to get people playing it again or giving people bigger chances at things, they have added what is basically the equivalent of loot boxes, which they call Fighting Chance. It makes it to where you can obtain different things in this mode. So there's a fortune teller that gives you like a fantasy fortune reading, and it gives you like multiple random items. Some are that are actually exclusive to this new thing that they included. And yeah, it's kind of rubbing people the wrong way here, because with all the stuff going on with loot boxes, like, why would you include this?
I mean, I would say it's annoying and kind of crass, but like Dragon Ball FighterZ has the same damn thing. Like,
nobody talks about it because they like that game, right? So
yeah, and they didn't add it in, 6 months after the fact. It was already in there from the get go. Also, I think the thing in Dragon Ball FighterZ is there's no way to actually buy. Well, I think there is. I'm not sure if there is a way to buy like the premium currency or not, but there might be. Look, but yeah, it's the same thing. Like, you can unlock colors or different BGM, background music stuff, or stuff like that.
Costumes, stuff that's not really.
Oh, well, it's not costumes because it's all. It's not even that. It's like.
Well, for Street Fighter, it is.
Oh yeah, but for Dragon Ball, it's like all the shit for like your avatar in the like online lobby. There's no like.
Who really cares?
Yeah, there's no costume. I don't think there's any costumes or colors for like the actual in-game fighters. It's just like, oh, I want to be like Majin Buu now, but instead of a red hat, he has a purple hat or something like that.
Like, yeah, I get it. Like, this makes fight money a bit more grindy to get a costume that you might actually want. But I think it's getting like, I don't have a problem with this so much because, again, you're talking about, like, costumes and, like, art and stuff like that that's not really that important. It's kind of silly to also add in there, but it's not the worst thing in the world. There could have been worse things that they added into this.
Yeah.
Getting, I meant to do this in order, but I kind of forgot because usually I try to order the doc in the same order, so we talk about things all at once. But so a lot of questions were going around with the what Nintendo Switch Online actually is. What does it mean for, the Virtual Console? What does it mean for their older games? There was no Nintendo 64 Classic, as we had speculated about, and others had as well. So finally, Reggie Fils-Aimé has come out and talked that basically Nintendo Switch Online is the Virtual Console. Just they're going to release games for it over time. So it's going to be released more in, I guess, the same way sort of Game Pass is, where you get a certain amount of games from whatever system, whether it's Super Nintendo or 64, GameCube, whatever, and they'll add to it over time. I don't know if it'll go in and out or whatever, but
I think it's supposed to go in and out because that was the original plan.
We'll see.
But
we'll see what that.
Their original plan is also like we're gonna have 10 games every month or something like that, and they quickly walked that away.
Yeah, they were also to give you 2 every month that you could have for that month or whatever it is that they're doing. For $20 a year, if they're gonna do it this way, I don't think it's bad because that also includes the online. It's not like Xbox where the Game Pass is a separate $10 aside from the $60 a year that you're paying. So, there's that as well. This is all included in that package, which helps it stand out more for Nintendo, but I don't have a problem with it. I think it's better than telling somebody, okay, here, pay for Zelda Link to the Past for the 5th time.
And that's always been my thing is why would I do that?
There's people that have. There's people that own it on every single console that it's come out on, and that's fine if you want to do that, if you really love that game. But I probably would have done it with Chrono Trigger if I really cared to. But I think this is a better way than saying, all right, here's Virtual Console again. Oh, none of your stuff transfers over. Go buy it again. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it so much. I know there's people that really want Virtual Console. They want it the way they remember it and all that stuff. But as soon as they say it's not transferring, then are you really gonna care?
Yeah. Speaking of that, have you seen how much the Switch has been busted open the past 2 months?
I've seen some of it. Yeah.
There are videos of people just installing retro arch on the Switch. So it's if you want Zelda on it, there you go.
Yeah, there's people that I think Nintendo's actually going out there and they're banning people that have illegal games.
Well, they're banning people who have counterfeit or pirated games, which is valid. I'm not gonna. They can the way they explained it, they can tell this copy of Zelda is not legitimate. I'm sure that they don't like that. But I would say for the people who are fucking with their Switches and going I want to put Mario World on this thing, let them
I don't think if they have plans to release that as part of the Game Pass, I don't think that they're gonna want to. But people have that.
Let's be real. Nintendo's online plans over the past 2 consoles have not been great. I have little faith that the 3rd time is the charm.
My problem is more the friend code thing and the way that they set up the whole sometimes it's hard to get your friend in a game thing because the online generally works well.
You mean the system that the other 2 guys have figured out, 2 generations ago?
That I do not understand. Come on, people. You can't talk to some Japanese folks at Sony. It's not even I understand it. Maybe you don't. Y'all even have this working relationship with Microsoft now. You can't talk to someone there about how to improve your online infrastructure. I just don't get that.
Yeah.
You have so much available to you, and it's they just kind of stay in their own bubble when it comes to this thing.
Oh yeah, that's what Nintendo does.
there's so much quality of life things that could have been improved for the Switch that it's still like, why is this a problem? Just so many years later, but so some interesting things out of the Nomura did a big interview discussing Kingdom Hearts 3 at E3. He said that people should expect that there is going to be Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC. So,
you can finally get that Little Mermaid Atlantica world.
He does say that there's a chance that they could add customizability to some of the characters, but that's not a total given right now. And the interesting thing that I took out of this as well is that he makes it seem like Microsoft is not interested in a Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5, and 2.8 collection. That basically Microsoft just has to say, yeah, we'll do it, and they could get to work on it, but they hadn't even had those conversations.
Well, the problem is that Microsoft had to pay for it. And I think after the Final Fantasy 13 debacle, they're a little gun-shy at that type of stuff.
I think also it's, for Microsoft, they have to go like, well, how many people own only an Xbox One and don't have a PS3 or a PS4 where they could have bought this collection?
Well, I think, like, even if you had it on PS3, I think, like, if you only had an Xbox One and you wanted to get Kingdom Hearts, people would probably do it, but just how many copies would you sell? Like, I don't think it'd be that many.
Yeah, for how much you would have to pay Disney and Sony and everybody else involved. You know, and how quickly are they going to get this out as well? So if it's going to come out after Kingdom Hearts 3, are people going to care?
Yeah.
At that point. So, you know, that's another thing as well. They have been providing recap videos, but they're only in Japanese right now. So whenever they do translate them into English, I'll talk about it on here probably. Because just even though I played all those games, it's been a while, and I do kind of want to see what they go over on them. I think also something that he brings up in this is a lot of people have questioned about why have they not shown too many Final Fantasy characters? And Nomura answers that by saying that basically he made this story so freaking convoluted that he can't even remember what Disney characters have met each other and which ones haven't at this point. So imagine trying to put in Final Fantasy characters into that, and also remembering which Final Fantasy characters have met each other and all that stuff in the game. And
yeah, but
yes.
I agree with him in principle. Well, two things. You're going to watch those Kingdom Hearts videos just to see what their own internal logic thinks about them, about their story. But also, there's only been, I think, six Final Fantasy guys in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, Cloud, Sephiroth, Leon, Yuffie,
Auron,
Aerith, and Auron.
And,
Titus and Selphie and Waka are the three kids.
That's going to say the little kids, but they weren't important really.
Right.
But also, like, what does it matter if they've met each other before or not?
Oh, and also, what's his face? The other guy from 8.
Squall?
No, the guy that goes against Squall. He's
Cypher?
in the tutorial.
Cypher?
Yes, Cypher, and also Vivi's in the tutorial thing too. But, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Look how often amnesia is used in that franchise. Like, just be like, oh, I woke up at this town. I have no idea who any of you are again, but let's go be heroes or something. Like,
yeah,
who cares?
Oh yeah, and Sid is the freaking
gummy captain.
Gummies.
Yeah,
which he said. He also talked about that too. He's like, there is some improvements to the gummies, but it's basically the same one from Kingdom Hearts 2. And we basically had the gummies in the trailer so you could know that it's in there. It's like
to the delight of no one.
to the light of the kids, probably, and that's about it.
You say that, but that system is so convoluted that kids won't like it.
They streamlined it a lot in Kingdom Hearts 2 to where you basically don't have to do a whole lot. Like, Kingdom Hearts 1, you actually had to shoot. I feel like Kingdom Hearts 2, you were just pressing a button and it was just hitting stuff. I mean, it's fine. Whatever. If that's the way they want to get you from one place to another, we're used to it by now. Just, you know, it is what it is. It's like, but I did find it funny that he himself is like, God, I have so many freaking characters I got to keep track of. It's like, please don't give me any more.
You know what you could do is streamline that story.
Yeah. Well, he can't now. He's fully committed. He says we're going to be shocked by some of the stuff we're going to see, but.
And then it's ironic since they're adding in like at least 3 new worlds in that game, like Toy Story, Frozen, and some other one.
Well, they are adding Big Hero 6, but they haven't finished the cutscenes yet. That's why we haven't seen that one.
Yeah, so they're they already have a plethora of characters and worlds, but now they're adding in more. And it's like, all right.
He said he apparently told Disney if they didn't let him do the Toy Story world, he wouldn't do Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, I can see that. That's probably the more creative world, at least.
He's just wanted to do Pixar for a while, which I'm glad that he stood up for that, because I was sitting there going, man, you got to put Pixar on one of these at some point. And then they put 2 of them. So, we'll see. I'm excited for Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm glad.
3. Big Hero 6 Monsters and...
Big Hero 6 is Disney.
Oh. We can even keep track anymore.
Yeah.
I just want Wall-E.
Wall-E would be great. Let's hope that they get to do more. I'd imagine that if whichever one, they got to have like Star Wars or Marvel or something. In whatever next one it is that they do.
Yeah.
If they do a next one.
It'll be Kingdom Hearts Infinity.
Wouldn't be surprised.
And they'll sell you figures to put in the game.
With the way that the naming stuff has gotten now, where you don't really want to do numbers anymore. Wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if they did Kingdom Hearts Infinity. We're just going to keep adding stuff, and it's going to be freaking convoluted as hell. We're going to do that. So Cyberpunk 2077 also got a lot of controversy coming out of E3 because many people were thinking it was just third-person RPG like The Witcher. Come to find out, it is a first-person shooter RPG. And a lot of Witcher fans are not happy about it. But I can totally understand where the Cyberpunk people are coming from, because if this is supposed to be very personal, in that first-person view, you can understand a lot of things. Like, I felt like Wolfenstein did that very well out of the first-person view, too.
Also, there are guns. They're not swords.
Yeah. I mean...
compare the first-person combat in, Skyrim or Fallout to third-person combat, and you'll go, yeah, I know why you did first-person.
I mean, Gears does third-person well. But, again, if you're trying to tell a very personal story, and you're in this sort of cyberpunky world and all that, I think I like their idea. I think we should let them... I know there's people that got to see a huge amount of video for the game behind closed doors and all that stuff. And they probably get to know much more about how this works. But I think we should be able to trust CD Projekt Red enough right now that they know what they're doing.
I think the gaming community is too kind of paranoid about that stuff. I think one of the GameSpot video, or not GameSpot, Giant Bomb videos, they're talking about oh, we saw the demo, and someone asked why didn't CD Projekt Red put it out, and they were like, because gaming people are too nuts. The minute they spot something different in the actual game, or that it's not running as good as the internal demo, they get freaked out, and they'll, the pitchforks will raise. And it's yeah, they're right. Like what happened with Watch Dogs.
Watch Dogs was Ubisoft set them up for that. Set us up for that because they made it such a huge thing at that one E3. The next E3 rolls around, it looks completely different. It's like, yeah, something's weird here.
Yeah.
But that's a special case. Normally it doesn't happen.
I just think, like, yeah, they were right to not show that demo off publicly, at least for now.
I agree with you. Show it off 3 months later.
You also have no idea, like, how much more in development they are. Like, that could have literally been the only thing they have.
It could be, because they're saying they're taking their time with this one. It could be a 2020 game.
Yeah, which is fine. Like, they have the money to do it, so let them. But
yeah, it's CD Projekt Red. I think they have enough license right now to be able to do something like that, and trust them. They know how to tell stories.
Yeah,
I know. So Sony announced the PlayStation Hits is coming back, and it's going to include quite a few really good games. It starts this week. A lot of games for $20. 15 games for US and 14 in Canada. It's also going to be $20 in Canada, by the way. So, Battlefield 4, Bloodborne, Doom, Drive Club, Infamous Second Son, Killzone Shadowfall, Last of Us Remastered, Little Big Planet 3, Metal Gear Solid 5, Definitive Edition, Project Cars, Ratchet & Clank, Street Fighter 5, Uncharted 4, Yakuza 0, and Yakuza Kiwami. Those are some really good games in that list for $20.
Yeah. I would say everyone should get Yakuza 0, Ratchet & Clank, and I would say Infamous Second Son, and maybe Bloodborne. That's about it.
I would say also get Doom. Uncharted 4 is worth it if you really like the Uncharted series. And I think Yakuza Kiwami is worth picking up if you want to know where that story kind of started and everything.
No, Yakuza 0 is where it started.
Well, like, I guess the whole after that. Like, if you play Yakuza 0 and you want to know.
I just think Yakuza 0 has just better gameplay than Kiwami. That's why I say that one.
And, of course, if for some reason your PS4 didn't come with Last of Us, then...
Man, everyone pick up Drive Club. It's the hottest racing game of the generation.
Good Lord.
It's funny how, like, that was such a big deal, that one E3, and then it came out, and no one cared.
Well, it's like, it got delayed. Oh, it has problems. We got to take it off the store. Oh, it came out. Oh, no.
It was barely functional when it came out.
Yeah. It's like, all right. Who cares? Sony just washed their hands.
I'm honestly surprised that the Order 1886 isn't on this list.
Because you shouldn't buy it for $20. You should buy it for, like, $5.
No, you should rent it for $5 and then beat it that night and take it back.
Yeah, that too. So, Bethesda is suing Warner Brothers over this Westworld mobile game that just came out because it is a blatant ripoff of Fallout Shelter. It basically uses a lot of the same stuff in Fallout Shelter, but with a Westworld tinge. Don't blame Bethesda here.
Yeah, there's some like line about like how they replicated some bug in Westworld that like Fallout had initially, but they killed it or squashed it. And I'm not. I think the story updated. I'm not sure if they're suing WB now. I think they're just suing the company that made it, like Connection or something like that, or some weird name. But it looks a lot like Fallout Shelter, sure. But hey, it's a mobile game, and mobile games rip each other off all the fucking time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, look when like Flappy Bird came out. Like how many clones there were of that, or like Clash of Clans.
And it
like,
took forever for them to finally get those off the store.
Yeah.
So,
or even like when what is it? What's that old cartoon game you like? Cuphead. Yeah, Cuphead. Like when that game came out, there were like iOS clone, things of that. And it's just Cuphead isn't on here.
I mean, there's so many clones of Candy Crush.
Like it's different because this is like a like Warner Brothers has, commissioned it.
Right.
I don't think they're necessarily at fault. I think the company that made it is, but
Warner Brothers also had to say, okay, let it go. Let it get released.
yeah. But honestly, like, yeah, it's kind of the name of the game when it comes to mobile ports or mobile games. Unless it's something like really unique and intensive. Like you didn't see too many Infinity Blade knockoffs when that came out.
Oh, because that was kind of hard to replicate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they can slap any license in this fucking thing and release it, and it's no problem.
Right? Yeah, it's not. I think Bethesda will wind up getting something out of it, but Bethesda's just got to be smarter about this. Is the way the mobile games work. People just rip each other off. Is what it is with mobile games, but live and learn, I guess. Something that feels like it's been a long time coming. I don't know if this means like GameStop would stop operating, but GameStop is apparently in talks with private equity firms to sell the company. They are only doing this apparently because they did receive interest of a buyout from someone at some point. But that's also because the hedge fund that I guess owns part of the company or something was saying that they need to change some things up, and they were going to go into a review process or whatnot. But like, honestly, I think there's still value in having GameStop around. The used game market, there's always been talk of, we're going to have an online used game market. Steam has tried. I don't know, maybe PS5 and Xbox whatever will come up with a system for that.
Xbox 2.
Yeah, I don't know if they will. I feel like GameStop is still good for that. But, the people buying games digitally is hurting them. There's a reason why half their store is now Funko Pops and, gaming shirts and anime shirts and Pokemon plushies and whatever, because they have to make up the money somewhere else.
Yeah, I saw something today that GameStop is going to start selling comic books soon.
People buy comic books still?
Just
I mean,
kinda.
You can get them digitally now too. So
yeah,
I mean,
well, that's the thing. Like, if you go to a comic book store, it's the same thing. Like, they have comics, but they also got shelves of other figurines and crap like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really a comic book shop near me, but when I have gone into one, they say that they sell, I think, just as many like figures or pops or whatever as they do comic books. Unless it's somebody coming in looking for an old comic book or something like that. So
yeah, I don't think GameStop will necessarily ever technically go away. Like, I think used games on current system or on next generation systems, that might get phased out eventually. Maybe not with like PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox, but definitely after that one.
Yeah, especially if they go streaming.
Yeah, but I think there always will be a place for a retro game store. The problem really is GameStop is terrible. And they just cared way too much about like just the profit margin on stuff. And yeah, like, if GameStop sold like Super Nintendo games in store that were like legitimate and fairly priced, I'd probably buy some, but they don't.
No, they don't. And I think aside from if you trade in a like brand new release game, it's a lot of times it's not worth it, because you're gonna get like, I paid $60 for this game, I'm gonna get $10 back for it. Forget it.
Yeah, well, if you trade in like a new game, you got $30 for it, and then they'll put it on the shelf for $55.
Yeah,
and it's like, fuck you guys. I should just stand out in the corner and go, I got this game I'll sell you for $50.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they'll do. I think now, because they have that extra pricing tier of the Pro Elite,
Yeah.
you'll get like $5 more off on the game or whatever. So, but yeah, for the most part, you're right. Like God of War comes out, somebody turns in the next day. At the most, you're seeing it for is $50.
Yeah.
Or I mean, the least you're seeing is for $50, and you're going, man, that's used. But let's be honest. I mean, people at this point with games, even if you're a collector, which I think there's not that many of them. I mean, I think the amount of them out there is much smaller than there used to be.
I think the opposite is true. I think more like as older people, have more incomes, collecting is more important. But it's all retro stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's not, no one's collecting, or no one is realistically collecting PS4 games. They're going, oh, I want to get all the games I played like when I was, a teenager playing the N64. Right. So they're spending like $200 on fucking like Clay Fighter Second Sculpture or whatever the fuck that was called, or or like StarCraft 64 or crap like that. Right. Or like the Super Nintendo or the Genesis, stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing though too is right, like which I understand because they only have so much shelf space. All their retro stuff is online.
Yeah.
So you can't even come to the store and try to go find a rare Super Nintendo game or 64 game or whatever. It's you come to the store to buy a PS4, Xbox One, Switch. And then, the last generation. And
yeah, they barely have, like, PS3 and 360 games anymore.
Oh, which I understand. Like, they have to... The shelf space is going to keep getting smaller and smaller, and they're going to take away the older and older games. This is how it always is. But, I think now with... pre-orders are basically useless because you don't run out of games. Like, you can go to the store and buy them digitally.
The only time pre-orders matter is if you actually get something in return. Lumines has a good pre-order. If I had the money, I'd buy it right now, where you can get like the soundtrack for free, which is a great, like Lumines has a great soundtrack. It's $20 for the game. Like, hell yeah, I'd buy that if I could.
Yeah, like Octopath Traveler has a Wayfarer edition that's $100.
Yeah, that diorama thing.
Yeah.
Or Amazon Prime has buy the game before it's out and it's $48 instead of $60.
Right.
But that's about it.
Well, they're not going to do that for GameStop because GameStop makes all the money on a pre-owned game. So
right. But I mean, Best Buy had that policy also. Like their gamer club thing was just ended. So I guess it tells you how well that did.
Yeah, that did well for a little while, and then eventually just like everything else when it comes to games. I think for one, people are just buying games digitally. It's much more convenient that's not going to run out. So you just come over into your system, buy it, put it on your system. If you don't want to play it anymore, you erase it, leave space for the next game. I think also just GameStop, because there's not usually a really big incentive to pre-order anymore, because again, you're not going to run out of that game. You can walk into the store that day and buy that game. Like, there's actually more of an incentive now, which I do sometimes, but Amazon also has them, to pre-order Pops, because they actually only get the amount that someone pre-orders. And then maybe they'll get a couple more to sell for the people that walk in. But games, that doesn't happen. So why waste my time pre-ordering when I can just walk in the day the game comes out and go, okay, I want that game.
Yeah.
So the money that they make off pre-ordering and all that.
Also, I don't know about the GameStops by you, but all the ones around here are like claustrophobic as hell. Like,
yes, they're very small.
I would like it if GameStop actually moved into a bigger space and had more room.
I have one that's sort of small, and then I have one that's by a Walmart that's bigger.
So, I have one. I think I have at least like 3 by me. 2, like, one is small. One is like narrow, but like it goes back quite a bit. And then one feels like you're walking into a shoebox when you go into it.
That's kind of how the other one that's technically closer to me, but It's in
Like
this
strip
thing
mall,
next to an
probably.
office. Yeah, it's in this strip mall that's like next to an Office Max, and yeah, it's kind of small.
It's like you walk into it and there's barely enough room for 4 people, like to go arm to arm or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, all right, I'm just gonna go. I'll make the longer trip to go to the other one. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's again like
Like I mean, you're in Florida. I don't think there are necessarily this store in. Ever heard of a store called Disc Replay?
no.
It's like a used game and movie store up here. They sell retro stuff too, but you walk inside of it and it's compared to like a GameStop. It's like 3 or 4 times the size. I mean, they have to because they're selling a lot more inventory. But it's like you walk between the aisles and it's like, hey, I have room.
We used to have one. I don't know if it's still there or not in the DFW area called a movie trading company, which that was huge as well. We had Hastings for a while; those all closed down.
Hey, I know Hastings is like basically like Circuit City's like size, wasn't it, or like Media Play or something like that?
Yeah, they were pretty big. They were pretty big.
Yeah, we have a store up here called like Second and Charles, who's like the same thing. But GameStop doesn't need to be that big. Like that'd be crazy.
Right.
But going into a store that like, you know, more than one person can walk down the aisle would be nice.
I think it's also you gotta like they're a corporation, so they have to think about things from that bottom line perspective that you talked about, right? Like this, it sucks. It's stupid. I think it's going to hurt them. I think they've done everything they possibly can to try to proof themselves as far as offering download codes, offering DLC download codes. They don't do it for every game. Like, you still can't go in there and buy indie game download codes from GameStop. Like, it's only certain games that they offer the download codes for on their website or whatever. You still have to... Obviously, they still want you to go in and buy physical copies because that gets them the most of anything. But again, like... I just don't know how much more they. I mean, they buy phones, they trade in phones. Like you said, they're going to start doing comics. I mean, they stopped doing DVDs and movies, but that's really because people don't buy DVDs that much anymore. But
yeah,
I don't know what else they can do, honestly, to prove themselves anymore. I think eventually it's gonna just either become, it's gonna be all Think Geek. Or they're gonna have to start closing down stores because they have a lot of them. Also, so
like GameStop is the company.
Yeah,
they should if they want to do well, they should rebrand to Funkoland like they were when they were cool.
Yeah, or Babbage's or whatever it was.
Yeah,
like,
software, etc.
Yeah, I mean. Well, kudos to them for lasting as long as they have. And I don't think it's going to... I still don't think... Even if they get bought out, I think they're going to just have to... They'll figure out something else that they're going to start selling there. I don't think that they're just going to close down all the GameStops. Whatever.
Oh, so. I mean, maybe. But, I mean, think about, like, Toys R Us. Like, I don't know about yours, but the one by me is closing down on Wednesday. If you said 5 years ago, or even, like, 2 years ago, is Toys R Us going to be around for the next 10 years? You'd probably say, yeah. But... look where we are.
You're right, but also Toys R Us was not necessarily because people didn't want to go to Toys R Us. It was more about mismanagement and. Yeah,
I mean that's the reason. But I'm just saying, like, no matter the reason. I mean, look, this is a venture capital firm. Like, they're the same thing that Bain Capital was. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, look what happened to Kmart. And,
or what's happening to Sears?
Well, yeah, Sears. I mean, a lot of the department stores are going through problems because people are just not going to those department stores that much. Amazon can beat them on several levels. That's the thing too. Is there's a lot of things that go against GameStops. They've improved their quality of life as far as how they treat their employees, but I don't think that that's totally improved either. So there's that as well. Just yeah. I don't want to see GameStop go away, but I wouldn't be surprised completely if it does.
Yeah.
So, just because normally I wouldn't talk about Pokemon Go at all. Even with the Pokemon Let's Go that's coming out, I don't really have an interest in going back and playing Pokemon Go. But because we did have a few people request to get, I guess my opinion, because I don't know how much Mark cares, about them adding the trading and the friends list and the alone Pokemon and all that stuff. Like, honestly, I think they're trying to capitalize on whatever they can with Pokemon Go to try to have it hold out until Let's Go comes out and see if Let's Go will get people playing Pokemon Go again. Because there's a lot of Pokemon. As much as there is about Pokemon Yellow in Pokemon Let's Go, there's also several things about Pokemon Go that's in Pokemon Let's Go. There's that CP, there's the candy, there's the you don't random battle, you just catch, which some people have either hate that or there's people that love it, and it makes them actually want to go out there and catch all the whole Pokedex. I think the trading should have been there day one or 6 month, 1 year. Trading is such a vital part of Pokemon. Like, I don't know why you would have waited this long to put trading in. Same thing with the friends list. That's just a Nintendo thing. They're so bad about... I mean, I know Nintendo doesn't really have a lot to do with this game, but Nintendo is bad about the whole having friend codes. You have friend codes with this again, so, good luck with that. The alone Pokemon's fine. Like, that's a nice little thing to add in there. That's, it's fine if you waited this long for that. But honestly, for me, I think this gives it a little bit of a length. People that play Pokemon Go now, this is just going to keep them playing Pokemon Go great. I don't know if this is going to make people want to all of a sudden start playing Pokemon Go again. I just feel like the trading is like a little too late. Like, that trading should have been in a long time ago for me.
Oh yeah, I think that too.
I mean, like, we went through the trouble of adding the battles and all that stuff. Like, trading would have been one of the big things people are asking for. You should have had it a while ago. So, I mean, that's just my thought on Pokemon Go. Again, I don't play it. I did for a little while. I actually was almost one of those people that was stupid and tried to do it while I was like at a stoplight and almost got in an accident, and that was about the end of my Pokemon Go.
I had a friend, and I don't know where she is now on Facebook. She hasn't been on like a month, but she kept trying to invite me to like Pokemon Go events or like their stupid what is it? Not like
that thing
not
in
competition.
Chicago.
Yeah, not that in Chicago necessarily, but they had like one in Detroit as well, and I'm like, well, I don't have a mobile phone. The tablet I have can't run it at all. And so what do you want me to do?
Yep. Can't do much about it, Just have to go with what you have.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's great that they've had it last.
I guess it's a neat idea, but
I think Let's Go will help. I think it, will help get people to play Pokemon Go, especially with the whole you can trade your Pokemon into it. But, yeah, I don't see it doing a ton. But
yeah.
Unless you already had experience with Go at one point, it might make you want to go back and play it. But, I don't think it's going to take you from not having played it at all to all of a sudden playing it. You're just going to want to play it on your Switch, and there you go.
Which you can't do.
Yeah. Well, you can play Let's Go on your Switch. I think that's going to be enough for people. So a couple more things here before we get to a jokey segment here. PlayStation Now, which I think we've talked about that this was going to become a thing at some point. I don't think they could have justified continuing to have PlayStation Now if they did not offer this, considering especially Game Pass also offers it. That according to Kotaku UK, downloads are going to come to PlayStation Now as of September. That will only be on PS4 titles, but then it'll eventually go into probably the other, games that are on PS Now. So that's good, but again, I feel like they're just doing this to do it. And I don't think this is going to get people to really jump on PlayStation Now at this point.
Yeah, between Game Pass, Nintendo's thing, and PlayStation Now, PlayStation Now is the one that no one cares about.
Yeah, I think it's because people have just they made it a big deal at the beginning. They weren't going to bring that stuff over. Microsoft has made it a huge deal to do backwards compatibility correct. They made a lot off of that. Sony has shown they don't really care about it. And I think they've made the people not care about it that much. So it's just going to keep being a thing that they have, but no one really, puts much attention to it.
I mean, if they said you can download, you can play whatever you want and download anything you want for as long as it's good, and here's a much better library of current and older titles like PlayStation 3, PS2, PS1, I might get it, or I'd be interested in it, but just their selection is very hit or miss, and yeah, I just don't care.
Yep, that's kind of the way I am too. If it had a better selection, maybe, but don't care. Octopath Traveler will have no DLC because it is a complete game, which makes me happy because I don't have to pay more than the $60 they're charging for that game.
Like I was joking with you, what does that say about Final Fantasy 15?
I think they know it wasn't a complete game. I don't think they're playing around too much with the fact that is not a complete game. You get to play as 8 different people, so you can go back and play that game multiple times. I guess we should appreciate that. There's so many games now that come out with DLC or whatever. There's so many things that they have to patch in. It's kind of refreshing to hear about a full price game that's not going to include DLC because it's complete. Also, they've put in how World of Warcraft Classic is going to work.
Yeah. I was curious.
Are you interested in this at all,
or? Maybe from an academic standpoint, old WoW was pretty gnarly back in the day, and even they're going to base this on patch 1.12, I think, which is the last big patch of, before the first expansion came out. Will you just have to create a new character, or could you somehow transfer your current character over? Just de-level them or something? Or, yeah, it'll be curious. I don't know how much this will entice old player to get back into it. I think that's kind of why they're doing this, but yeah, we'll see.
I mean, there was they had that illegal server for a while, and then Blizzard finally shut it down, and
Nautilus or whatever the hell it was called. But there have been private WoW servers for years, even 7 or maybe even 10 years ago. I mean, I was running one, or I made my own and just screw around with.
Yeah, I think that'll get those kind of people back, but it's not going to be en masse, I don't think. But also Blizzard's not counting on that for anything.
Well, also they still kind of tiptoed around when this is coming out, because I think a lot of people were expecting it to come out when the new expansion hits in I think 3 months or whatever, or 3 or 4 months, or even I think it's 2 months. I think it's August, and they have not said anything about that.
Maybe it's gonna be a Christmas present. Here you go, guys. Whatever, enjoy.
Yeah.
And just as a joke of the week kind of thing, American Girl Doll has released their own plastic Xbox One S that you can, I guess, buy as an accessory. It has a gaming chair. It has, looks like supposed to be knockoff Beats headphones, the controller, some discs. I mean, it's pretty faithful.
Time to get your daughter into this.
Maybe. I think I'd rather just buy Pokemon Let's Go, and it might actually be worth something. That's hilarious, though. I like that they went that extra mile with that. It's actually a pretty good recreation there.
Yeah.
Oh, so getting into entertainment stuff. The Ninja Turtles are getting rebooted again. It hadn't been that long since they got rebooted the first time. Okay. So, basically, Andrew Dodge, the writer behind the Jason Bateman movie Bad Words, is going to write the film. Brad Fuller, Michael Bay, Andrew Form are all producing. And
that's about it.
I mean, we'll see. I like the first movie. Second movie was...
I heard the second movie was okay, but it just bombed horribly.
It bombed badly, and I get it. Ninja Turtles are, people are nostalgic for that, but it's like...
I would actually like it if they went back to, like, the rubber suits or, like, robotic turtles.
Really? No CG
like
Turtles?
Like, if you look at the CD Turtles, like, they were monstrously huge. Like, there's nothing ninja about them.
No, yeah, they were freaking...
They were like 2 stories tall, for God's sakes. It's like, what the fuck is going on here?
It's like, they're supposed to be quick, being that big? I don't know about that.
Yeah, they're supposed to be, like, teenager size, or human formed, not, 9 feet tall and towering over April.
Yeah, freaking ridiculous. I mean, again, like, I don't think it was awful, but I agree with you in that the design wasn't that great.
I'm waiting for the eventual Turtles versus Power Rangers movie, like they did in the one TV show.
They need to do it. Make it happen. Maybe the Battletoads will appear.
No, they already did it in the TV show once, but
right, but do it in the movie. Do like a Power Rangers, teenagers like Teenage Ninja Turtles crossover.
Yeah.
So Sony, who is not afraid to continue to, make Spider-Man spinoffs. They got Venom in the works. They got that, was it Black Cat and whatever?
Yeah, which got delayed. Silver Sable and Black Cat, which is now in development hell, like all other Spider-Man films will be.
So Venom actually looks like it might actually come out.
Well, they have a trailer for Venom, or they finished that one at least. When it only makes $4, then they'll cancel all their plans for it. But
I don't think it's going to do that well. But
no, God, no.
As
Venom is always a much cooler idea in concept than in practice.
So what about Silk? A Spider-Man spin-off movie is in the works for Silk. We have seen Silk shown in the movie, and she was also in Avengers on the bus with Peter Parker as well.
Yes, the memorable character that was created 4 years ago.
This feels very much like we're trying to capitalize on the whole female leads superhero thing.
Well, first of all, it'll never come out because Silk's backstory is insane. Second of all, like, who wants knockoff Spider-Man?
Sony, apparently.
Like, they can't even get, a remember all their like Sinister Six movie nonsense, or like the Black Cat movie? I mean, the Black Cat and Silver Sable movie. They can't even get those off the ground, let alone a movie about a character that was created 4 years ago that has a very convoluted backstory and that has no real discernible power set or character of her own.
Man, it seems like they just want to have female Spider-Man. So, whatever.
I mean, if that's the case, there are already two of them. They're called Spider-Girl and Spider-Woman.
But this one, I guess, is they can say it's its own character, sort of. So,
and I think there's also a third one, or they have like a Spider-Gwen too. Like
yeah, Spider-Gwen, I think would, for me, be a little bit more interesting. But
like that, I think Spider-Gwen is too much of like a how does this fit into Spider-Man at all headache. Because, different universe and everything like that.
Right.
But at least, like, the character looks cool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not that Silk doesn't look cool. Sorry, my phone. That's an alarm to make sure I wake up to do podcasts, and I sleep through that anyway. So that's also the theme song for the Persona anime. But, yeah, I don't know, Sony. You keep doing you, Sony.
I mean, once this Marvel deal goes through with Disney, or like the Fox deal with, getting the X-Men and everyone else back, they'll turn their attention to Sony and go like, what do you want for Spider-Man?
Like, you can keep the video game license or whatever. Let us have the movie.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Like, quit fucking up the brand. No one's going to care about a Venom movie. Like, just give us a license.
I mean, notice how the only time they made a really good Spider-Man movie, for a long time, has been they had to get Marvel in there to make it. So
yeah,
that
the first
two. A lot.
I think the first two Raimi films were good, but they were outside of the purview of Sony. So that helped.
And then the Amazing Spider-Man films was like, why?
They were a somewhat decent attempt, but no one cared, and yeah.
And it was like too much. Like, we already told this story, we're doing it again. Like,
yeah, it was just like it rebooted it for no good reason. That's one reason I like Spider-Man: Homecoming is they don't have that. This is how Peter Parker got his powers bullshit. They just ignore it. They ignore it completely.
It's like, we know you know this. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Speaking of that deal, Comcast did their job. Their whole idea was obviously to try to get Fox to set their bid, but they also wanted to drive the price up for Disney. Disney actually wound up doing that. They went up to $71 billion, and now Fox is for sure going to take up their bid over the $65 billion bid by Comcast. Comcast really can't do much more. So they're just waiting on a vote from the board to make it official at this point, which will make a lot of people happy because that means the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Deadpool are all back under the Marvel banner, and that's good for everybody involved.
Yeah. Like I think I said last time, like Disney or Comcast buying, Marvel. This like the X-Men and stuff. Like, there's no good reason. They just wanted it to like milk it as much as they could as well.
It's like, why? Like, just let the people that I get it. Like, Disney's your competition. Trying to beat them to something is positive and all that for you, but
why not go start the Dark Universe with Universal again?
Well, we see how that turned out. So, one movie and bam, death.
Yeah,
death happened. Well, it's not all rosy for Disney because Solo: A Star Wars Story has only made $344 million at the box office, which is very low compared to the other Star Wars films and even Rogue One. And, this has led to some reports about Lucasfilm now deciding to put their other Star Wars spin-off movies on hold, which would be the Boba Fett movie and the Obi-Wan movie. Now Lucasfilm has come out and said that is categorically wrong. It's, false. What they're doing is they're rethinking how they're going to do these movies. Perhaps, not churn them out so quickly. And just kind of trying to make sure that they're, who these are for and doing these stories correctly. And I think that's fine and all. Like,
well, there's two things. I actually saw some video report today that, like, Bob Iger, like the CEO of Disney, wants to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, who runs, like, Lucas, basically because of Solo. And, like, just the ire she's created from the brand. And, yeah. Like,
is that Kathleen Kennedy's fault, though? Like,
well, I don't think she's, like, twirling, like, some invisible mustache going, like, I want to ruin Star Wars. But, like, the continued reliance on, like, prequel nonsense or, like, side story stuff. Like, if you want to tell a Star Wars story, go completely unique with it. Like, I didn't like Rogue One. You liked it more than I did. But at least try to do something different. Like, it
had a point of being. Like, it told a story that people were actually curious about how this came to be. Like, Solo was just kind of like,
when Han
we didn't need this.
Chewie, yeah.
Like, we could have gone without this at all.
Look, and I feel the same way about an Obi-Wan movie, and especially about a Boba Fett movie. Like, the character that says 2 lines in the entire fucking franchise.
Well, getting to flesh out his character, I think, wouldn't be bad. Like,
that's like people who are, like, going gaga over Phasma, and it's like she says 4 lines in 2 movies and doesn't do anything.
Yeah, and people are like, "Oh my God, she deserves more." It's like, really? Does she?
Like, if I would honestly say, if you're gonna make a Star Wars film that's not like Episode 9, obviously, make it KOTOR, or make it like was it Jedi Academy, like Kyle Katarn. Like, they threw out all of the expanded universe stuff that people liked for years, if not decades. And, there were some good ideas in there. Like, and characters people kind of liked.
Yeah. I mean,
like, I don't
like, the end of Solo really throws you through a loop. And it's like, well, are we ever going to get a reason why Darth Maul exists again? Like,
I don't need to. Yeah, I just don't. They're like I've always said 4 or 5 times in this podcast over the past 2 months. Their continued reliance on like this tight 30-year span in Star Wars does them no favors, because you think, like, the whole idea is in a galaxy far, far away they could have endless stories to talk about, but no, they got 3, and they keep reusing them over and over.
Yeah, and it's just, again, I think that was the biggest point. Is like, there's people that love some of those characters. Like, I really, really enjoyed Donald Glover's character. L3 is one of the best droids, I think, now. Like, there's people that really found her annoying. So, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, for me, when you make a movie and I go, well, that was a movie, it was enjoyable, but, like, I could have gone without seeing it, and I would have felt like I missed nothing.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Star Wars story.
Yeah, I didn't see it, and when it comes out online, I'll probably just download it. Just buy like the iTunes version, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, you'll watch it once and you're good. Like, it's again, like that's why I was saying, the Rogue One movie, even though not everybody liked it, it seemed to be much more positive than Solo. Though it had a point of being, like there's a story to tell there. Boba Fett, at least there's not a lot to that about the guy, so it's sort of intriguing. Like, oh, we can sort of learn more of his backstory, whatever. Obi-Wan,
You don't want to see him creaking around the desert of Tatooine for 2 hours.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just the way you tell these stories. Like, you really got to give people a reason for these movies to exist, and I think that's what you need to go back and look at. You can't just churn out stuff to say let's do Star Wars every year, because you also get burnout. And when it starts affecting your episode numbered ones, which right now it hasn't, luckily for you, but if it does affect episode 9 or something like that, I think it's like, okay, I think, why are we having so many of these?
I think another problem was, like, episode 8 came out, like, last year, December?
Mm-hmm, yeah. And this came out in, May.
Yeah. So that was 5 months, essentially. So I think
it came out, like, right around Avengers.
Yeah, like right between like Avengers and Deadpool, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was not sitting pretty by itself. Like,
if it had come out around Christmas, like they always do or seem to, then yeah, it would have done way better probably.
Yep, that too. It's that time coming out, but yeah. Well, I'm guessing we'll get more of that. They also got that TV show happening for the Disney network, so
and they also get the Rian Johnson trilogy as well, which probably canceled.
The 2 movies being made by the Game of Thrones dudes.
Yeah.
So they've still got a lot of Star Wars happening. So
they
gotta figure that out.
Think about like Marvel. Like they have really diversified from, Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. Mm-hmm. Like there's a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, or 2, 2, and they're working on a 3rd. There's a Captain Marvel movie. All these different Spider-Man.
Black Panther.
Yeah. Compare that to Star Wars. Okay, here's the movie where Han met Chewie. Here's the movie where they got the Death Star plans. It's like, all right, like, what's the next one?
Here's the movie that was basically Episode 4 with different characters.
What's the next one? How Obi-Wan built a lightsaber for 2 hours? Like,
I would be surprised if that's what that movie is. But no, like, yeah, again, you bring up a great point. Like, all those, and they also meld into each other, which that helps too, right? Like, those stories are all melding into one Avengers story, but they're also pretty good movies on their own.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, they should have had like a Rey prequel film where it was like exploring her as like a younger character, like a younger person.
What happened to her parents? We still don't know.
Or even introduce her and here's the Rey film, or here's like the film
the Kylo Ren film.
Yeah, where he got corrupted or something like that. Instead, they just. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what DC does. What WB does with DC is like, here's like the big team up film, and they didn't leave any groundwork for any of the other characters.
Yeah, it's like, oh well, I hope you watch the TV show, but those guys are not the same dudes and woman, so like, who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see if they ever figure this out with Star Wars. But as long as the numbered episode ones do well.
But you also got to wonder, they got one more of those in the chamber, and then what's after that? Like, they don't, as opposed to Marvel. Well, as opposed to Marvel, they don't seem to have a master game plan going.
They do, but it's like way down the line. Like, how quickly are they going to be making these, J.J. Abrams is doing episode 9, so technically Rian Johnson could do his other trilogy, and I don't know how far away his first movie would be. We have no idea what the Game of Thrones dudes are what that's supposed to be about. So they have stuff in the plans, but we don't know how far off they are after episode 9. So
yeah,
we still got like a year and a half before episode 9. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
Timeless is canceled again, which I'm sad about, but if they do get this 2-hour movie, then that's enough for me. Just end it and we're good.
I watched the first 2 episodes of Timeless, and the idea is sound of, at least in season 1, chase this guy who's trying to fuck up history. But it was all the conspiracy bullshit that really drove me away from that show.
I think
I think season 2 leaned more into that.
Season 2 also leaned more into the characters, which has helped it. But I think it's just they play it during the time where sort of in the summer. I think people like it for certain things, but then a lot of it's just really crazy and honestly, time travel shows other side of Doctor Who don't really do that great. So, and
yeah.
Doctor Who has its own lore, and they keep changing the Doctor, so it keeps it fresh. I mean, it's just, and you don't get them ridiculously romantically involved like you did with the 2 main characters in Timeless. So, they make it about the Doctor, but also about wherever they're going. They have a story arc. It's just, you can kind of get into that, whether you watch it all the time or you just started during that season. I don't know. I liked Timeless. It was one of the shows that I kept up with. But again, I'll be fine if they get to... I'm going to be sad if they don't get to have the 2-hour movie because of the way it ended with the cliffhanger. But
yeah,
I don't think that people should be fighting for it to come back aside from that. Just let it go.
Yeah, the ratings weren't great, and you tried, and as opposed to Firefly with Fox, NBC gave it another shot, but it didn't go well, so what do you expect?
Well, speaking of a show we both watched that we both enjoyed, Lucifer got picked up by Netflix. It's apparently going to be a 2-parter.
2-part season.
2-part season. So, I don't know if they're going to... I guess 10 episodes for part 1, and then whatever episodes they want for part 2.
They'll probably see how well part 1 does, and then kind of gauge interest from there.
Well, I hope it does well, people. Watch it. Watch it on Netflix.
I think it'll do fine. I saw an interview today with one of the guys. He was talking about on Netflix, you can do a slightly more adult show. He was talking about one Fox thing they wanted to do was have the guy, Lucifer, shown from the back, naked, kind of showing his butt, and how Fox wouldn't do that at all, but Netflix you could.
Yeah, that's true. You can. I don't know how adult you can get when you have a little girl that also shows up quite a bit. So, they could remove her from the show, I guess, as well. But
did you see that last episode they did, the kind of the what if episode?
I still need to watch some of that. Yeah, I think I'm behind on a couple of episodes or whatever.
There was a so the show is basically it's what if Chloe and Lucifer didn't meet, and it's kind of a what if Ella's now a car thief and stuff like that, but
yeah.
The Dr. Linda was great because she was basically a Dr. Phil type TV psychiatrist. But she's wearing this push-up bra, cleavage enhancing thing that is hilarious.
Huh.
And it's if they bring this show back, that needs to be your permanent costume.
Yeah, I've always liked her as an actress. So I'm glad that she got good role in that show.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll be happy to see it back. So hopefully, it won't be too long. We have to wait. Another show that's coming back after it got canceled because Roseanne decided to mouth off on Twitter. And I totally get the people that are defending her because there's been worse said by, the person that leads our country and all. But, hey, you know what? You got to be careful. You just can't say shit like that right now. But either way, thankfully, they actually had to get Roseanne's approval for it, but she did approve and agree to basically let ABC run with the concept of Roseanne without Roseanne being involved. It's called The Conners. That's what it's being codenamed as. And everybody but Roseanne basically is going to be on the show. Yeah. So.
Well, I want to know the funny thing is, I think Roseanne, either today or yesterday, it was like, oh, they took everything from me or I have nothing left. And it's like, how many millions of dollars did you just get for them to buy you out of the show? Like, tens? 20s? Like,
I mean, you're going to be fine. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you would have loved for the show to keep going with you for another, who knows how many seasons, right? But it's like, again, you screwed yourself. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have anybody else to blame but yourself. So, it's hard to feel sorry for her at all.
Yeah. Like, believe me, if you or I were in her situation and we said something like that, we'd still be like, well, we have millions to fall back on for the rest of our lives, so we're good.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how she uses that money, like, I don't know how she uses her money or whatever, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
But, for us plebeians, that don't have all these ridiculous debts and amounts of money that you have to, live through because of the ceiling that you live at,
yeah,
we'd be fine. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that, they're going to have the family deal with, unexpected pregnancy and all the other stuff that
I expect the Roseanne character to be killed off. And
I hope she gets killed off in, like, some crazy way.
A piano falls on her head like in 2.5 Men.
I hope it's something.
I'm actually glad that Emma Kenny's back because I liked her character a lot, and I just like that actress.
Yeah, I love the fact that John Goodman gets to be in here again because he's one of the best parts of that entire show, and yeah, that's. I
honestly imagine like Jackie will move in.
Probably, wouldn't be surprised on that one at all. But speaking of something surprising for me, because I never expected Chris Hardwick to be one of the people that are. Somebody that's accused from abuse, and this one seems rather terrible. So Chris Hardwick apparently was alleged to have abused his ex-girlfriend Chloe Dykstra. People were able to connect the dots, and this led to basically Nerdist came out and just wiped him of everything, including being the original founder and everything, even though he hadn't been involved with him for about 9 months.
Yeah, like almost a year. Yeah.
Still, like, to get your entire credit for that company being wiped out, that says a lot.
Well, I'd like to. Yeah. The abuse thing is interesting because, like, he didn't. Like throw up against a wall and hit her or like rape her necessarily. Like there's nothing like I would say overt of what he did. It like I don't know if you
I
read
mean,
her
that's
piece.
not really. I mean, we've had people get that for just like making innuendos. So
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you read her piece, but like she talked about is more about mental or like emotional, abuse stuff like that. Which I mean, I believe it. I don't know about you, but she made some specific examples. Like I think she like mentioned she got surgery or something, and like he asked the doctor like, "Oh, when can she have sex again?" And I say that's a little not good.
uh, I mean,
Like
that's a question that happens when after you get
if,
pregnant. Like,
yeah, but well, it's not that she wasn't pregnant, and that was also like his first question, not like
oh, okay, yeah, that's
is she
fucked up.
okay,
Like,
or how long will it take her to heal? That like not like
okay, yeah,
when
that's freaking terrible. Okay,
when can
never
I
mind.
bang her? And also like her mom was in the room, and it's like that.
Oh, like,
that-
come on, dude. Like, seriously? Like, oh.
and it's
Yeah, I think
funny
that
now.
tells you a lot about.
It's It's funny
Yeah.
now that like his wife, who is like a Hearst, I think some offspring, and also like his mother-in-law, who is Patty Hearst, is like defending him, like, oh, she could have gotten away, or I don't believe her, and it's like, Patty, sweetie, like you're the reason Stockholm syndrome was invented. Like, remember what you
Well,
did?
I mean, not only that, but I also like sometimes, uh, he. I mean, how long ago was that? Like,
I
compared
think
to
she
now, like,
said 20. I want to say it was like 2000 or 2010 to 2013. I think,
I
or
want to
might have been like,
say sometimes you can change. Um, like maybe he's not that way now, or maybe whatever. But it still doesn't make it right. What he did was completely fucked up, and I mean, if this happened the way she's saying, then she deserves to put that out there and let people know. I mean, again, like
oh,
maybe he's not being that way with his
it,
current girlfriend or wife or
well,
whatever, but
yeah, it was 2011 to 2014.
mm,
And like I I view this as a kind of a sliding scale. Like at one end of the spectrum was like Aziz Ansari. Like I don't know if you remember him.
yeah,
Like
right.
his
The thing that,
like
yeah,
that. I would say that was a weird situation. Like he might have been a little too forward, but like he didn't. It was also one instance or like one
and there
episode or
was
one
also
thing.
some from her as well. Like
Yeah, like
you didn't
there
send
was
the
some.
best signals either.
Yeah,
Like,
so that's one end of the spectrum, and like Harvey Weinstein is the other.
yeah,
I view this guy more on that end than the Aziz Ansari end.
and that's the thing too. Like you know, mental abuse can be just as bad or
Yeah,
even worse than the physical abuse because that can just fuck you up to where because I went through that. Like honestly, I'm not with anybody right now, but for me to trust that person would take a lot. Like I can't tell you that I wouldn't, thoughts of like, oh God, is she like cheating on me or whatever? Because I was so mentally screwed by, my ex-wife that like sometimes that bugs me. Like I'm like, oh God, how's it gonna be when I'm with somebody else? And she went through, I think, way worse than I did. And I can't imagine what that was like for her just to freaking have to deal with that. But like, that's just so terrible that the first questions you just have some kind of surgery and it's like can we have sex again? Like the whole like when you're after you had the baby pops out or whatever, like that's a question that comes up just because hey sometimes in that last month of the pregnancy, sometimes you don't have sex at all, and it's been a while, and you ask that question because it's been a while, right? But it's not the first question you ask; it's the question that like goes down the line.
So here is kind of the story. I looked it up. She had an ectopic pregnancy, which you have to remove because that could kill the person.
Right, exactly.
So she got the surgery, and then this is what she said. Then after my recovery, he and my mother were greeted by the doctor. The surgery went well. She'll be fine, said my doctor. Thank God, said my mother. And that's great. When do you think I can have sex with her again? Said my ex.
Wow.
And it was his first question. My mother never forgot.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever forget that either. Like, I'd just be like, man, you were a total douchebag right now. I don't think I could think of that person the same way after that. Like, really?
She also talks about like a lot about him like isolating her from like, you know, other men, and then also like kind of fame whoring himself, like, or like being a nice guy in public to like other celebrities, and then like being vindictive at home, stuff like that. So
that's pretty shitty. Like,
yeah,
you know, again, like, is this?
Well, I question what Jenny McCarthy has to say about this, since they worked together 20 years ago.
Right. Like, I don't know how much you want to take from Jenny McCarthy at this point. I mean,
yeah,
she's changed
that's
a
true.
lot. She's changed a lot from those days, right? Like,
she became insane, like just like he did, apparently.
But you know, like, again, there's like no reason to do that. Like, if you're so insecure that you need to do that, then there's a problem that you need to figure out with yourself. So
yeah,
obviously he had a lot of problems, and he took them out on her, and that's fucked up. But you know,
yep.
All right, so let's end this on a lighter note, just because I don't want to end the entire show on that. But
emotional abuse isn't a happy note for you?
No, because I'm having bad flashbacks right now. So it's like, you know, just because I don't know that I would go see these, particularly because I didn't really care for either one of the Brawly films, but I did like the Bardock one. So a few of the Dragon Ball Z films are remastered and are coming to theaters as part of the Fathom Events thing, which the Ghibli films have been doing recently, where they have like a weekend where they're at certain theaters. I almost went and saw Poco Rosso, but I had something come up and I couldn't go. But so the Dragon Ball Z Broly, the Legendary Super Saiyan, is coming out September 15th and the 17th. This is from like 93. The first time they fight Broly, which again, I didn't think it was that great of a movie. I don't know about you, if you've seen it or not.
I've seen like one Brawly movie. I think the first one. I mean, aren't they like really short? Like only like 45 minutes long or something?
They're only 45 minutes long. So I don't know if they're gonna show something else or whatever in that or whatever.
I mean, say what you will, but like the Resurrection F and Battle of Gods were at least like, you know, movie length.
Yeah, they were both like an hour and a half. So yeah, I don't know. Hey, it's whatever. I'm sure this is not going to be full price. So
did you see I think I sent it to you on Facebook, the gold Funko Pop Vegeta?
Yes, the gold Funko Pop Vegeta looks awesome, but it's a Toy Tokyo exclusive, so that's like, get ready for it to be like $1,000 on eBay. Fuck that.
Yeah. The Yamcha one is also pretty good.
Oh, the Yamcha one is great, but it looks like sleeping Yamcha, not like dead
yeah.
Yamcha. But
he needs to be in that ball, or like that one pose.
But I get it. Like, they need to show his face, like, because people are not gonna buy Yamcha where it's like his face is in the ground or whatever. So that's probably the best they could do, and I'm fine with that. I just hope that we do get like a regular not dead Yamcha at some point. Like,
I thought he's already out at some point.
no, they don't. Like, they don't have any of the, other than Bulma, they don't have any of the original Dragon Ball characters. So I love a whole wave of like, Oolong and Poor and Master
The characters
Roshi.
no one cares about.
Hey, I care about them, but Master Roshi deserves one. He's like there the whole way through, but I think Tien and Chatsu are like getting a 2-pack or something at some point, but yeah. So yeah, it's continuing on with this. The Bardock movie and the Dragon Ball Z Fusion Reborn are going to be shown together as a double feature. That's coming, November 3rd and November 5th. So that one I actually might sort of be interested to go see. But
That Dragon Ball movie should be out December, right?
the Dragon Ball Heroes.
I guess.
Yeah.
The new Dragon Ball movie, let's say that.
Yeah, that one. That's that one. Yeah, I think so. So, I think they're going to make a series after that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they were just kind of burned out on Dragon Ball. Like, they were cranking them out really quick for a long time. So, it'll give Toriyama time to come up with something else and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate, right, that they were really trying to be consistent with that, like you would for all the other series, but most series do not go that many episodes anymore. So,
yeah, it was fun. It was funny. I was talking to a friend of mine who's like, she only watches the dubbed versions, like that are airing right now on Cartoon Network, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we just got like," she was describing events like episode 63 or something. So I had to actually look it up. And she was like, "How many more do I have left?" And I was like,
another
70.
70?
Yeah, she was like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, there's one more arc, but it takes place, it lasts for fucking 70 episodes, so have fun with that."
Yeah, it takes forever for them to freaking make the team, then get to the damn place, then to have the freaking war or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Did we really have to have it? I mean, some of the fights in that thing are awesome, but I'm just saying, like, some of the other stuff was like, geez, did it really have to be this long? All right. Whatever.
Yeah. And
then the
like,
first, 30 or 40 is recapping Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F, so.
well, she was trying to find, she was trying to ask me, like, if there's a site for, like, future Dragon Ball dubbed episodes, like, that haven't been aired yet, and I'm like, no. You're watching them as they come out now.
Yeah, it'll be another.
I would say 2 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
I mean, that's assuming Cartoon Network shows an episode a week, which they don't.
Well, Funimation does, so they would still be coming out regardless.
Okay. Yeah, but she only watches them on Cartoon Network, so I mean, they have breaks occasionally, or they just they'll have.
Yeah, there's some shows that they take a break, so and dubbing is not easy. They got to make that the lip movements work and all that.
Kind of work, yeah.
Which that was one thing that Nomura was talking about. I forgot to mention that they were trying to do that thing where you could flip from
dual
English
audio
to Japanese with a button, and he says that's so difficult to do that they're thinking about maybe they just won't do that.
I mean, honestly, just say screw it and release a Japanese audio track like Persona 5 did. Like, they don't. It doesn't even match up perfectly, dude. Like,
yeah, I agree with you. Well, that's how they've done it all the other times with all the other Kingdom Hearts games. Is they just release the Japanese track separately, but
yeah.
So that's it for the news. That's been a lot. We've done a freaking 2.5 hour show.
That's what happens when you don't do it for a while.
Yeah. Well, plus there was a lot to talk about. We actually talked about a lot in here. So there's not a lot coming out, especially if you've already played several of these games. So if you're a Switch owner, though, which we both are, but again, I already own Wolfenstein 2 and Nier Automata, or Limbo and Inside, so I'm not buying them again. Well, Limbo and Inside are like free with. I think I had this because of the free with the Xbox or whatever. But Wolfenstein 2, I would do it on PS4. I'm not buying it again.
Yeah.
Luminous Remastered, which is going to be pretty good.
I so want that right now.
Comes out tomorrow or today. Rainbow Skies, the sequel to Rainbow Moon, comes out today as well. PS4, Vita, and PS3. Yes, there's still games coming out for PS3. The Crew 2 comes out. The Gold Edition actually comes out today. And the regular edition comes out on Friday. That's PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Nier Automata for Xbox One comes out today. The Blob on Switch comes out today. And then Limbo Inside and Wolfenstein 2 both come out on Friday on the Switch. So, lots of good games if you're a Switch owner and you have not played these at all. And if you have played them and you just only own a Switch, might be worth getting. So,
yeah, I'm kind of curious about the Crew 2.
I am too. That's one we missed the freaking beta. I forgot that happened. I would want to play it if we all got copies somehow. Like, that seems like a game that would be fun to play with friends, but I don't know that I want to play by myself.
Yeah. It's basically like a more vehicle version of Forza Horizon.
Basically. That's what it feels like. So, well, if there's enough stuff out there for us to talk about by the time, like, Saturday or Sunday rolls around, we'll be back then. Until then, enjoy your games, and we will see you later.
Later.